Due to YouTube's new policy and the Child Online Privacy Protection Act, no one under the age of 18 is permitted on this channel. We use sharp tools and chemicals when we restore and we customize vehicles. So again, please, no one under the age of 18 is permitted on this channel. Thank you so much for your understanding. Hello, and welcome to Diecast Graveyard. My name is Paul. Thanks for joining me here today. Today we're going to restore a Spoilers 1970 Nitty Gritty Kitty. Again, this car is a member of the Spoilers series, along with the King Cuda, the TNT Bird, the Light My Fire Bird, the Evil Weevil, etc. Well, this car is pretty beat up, and it looks like somebody has gone crazy with the paint. I'm suspecting this belonged to some young child, but we're going to clean it up, we're going to paint it up, we're going to polish it up, and we're going to bring it back to its original glory. So hang in there and let's have some fun. I got the car already drilled apart, so we're going to go ahead and evaluate the parts. Body's got a lot of chips on it, a lot of scratches, and a lot of flea bites. There's still residue from the former decals on there. I went ahead and drilled the post out already, and I already drilled out the motor. We're going to polish that up later and make it nice. We definitely need to get that residue off there in order to paint the car. The paint stripper should take it off. The base is not in too bad a shape. We're definitely going to replace the tires. Now, if it looks like the tires are kind of hanging off there, I already tried to take the tires off and they came off with no issues. Here's the windshield. Windshield's kind of scratched up, so we're going to have to polish that inside and out, front and back. Here's the interior. It's a little bit warped, but it'll be good to go. We can take a toothbrush with some hot soapy water and clean it up. And man, are we going to have to replace these tires. But we're going to save them. We save them as best as we can. You just got to be careful, because you try to pull that tire off, you're liable to pull the bearing with it. Here we got some paint stripper for the car. We're going to add a little bit more to it. So let's just go ahead and coat the car and make sure that old paint comes off. It usually only takes anywhere between 5 and 10 minutes, but I'm going to let it sit for a good portion of the day. Let's let it set now. Now we're going to take the base and we're going to make a mixture of lime away and water, a 50-50 mixture. Now you only need enough to cover the car. Lime away is cheap. You can get it at the local grocery store, whichever one you have. Pour in your lime away, and then again add approximately a 50% ratio of water to the lime away. This should be enough to submerge the car, or at least the base. Now what you're trying to do here is remove the oxidation off the base. It'll save you a lot of polishing. Now if you look close, you can already see that it's working. Pretty amazing there, huh? Now you don't want to leave this base in that mixture for any more than 4, possibly 5 minutes. I start at 4 and I look at it. If it looks like it needs to be in there a little bit longer, that's okay, but you just got to watch it. Any more than 5 minutes, that solution is going to start to attack the base. Now this looks pretty good. We can polish that up a little bit and make it look really nice when we go to reinstall it on the car. Looking pretty good there. Now we're going to replace the tires. Like I said, I already pulled these off ahead of time. Just got to really take your time when you do it though, because you could pull that bearing off there. And if you pull off the bearing, then you're either going to need to have a donor car or you're going to pull your hair out, one or the other. Now I will say that as I went to put one of the wheels back on, I did break the bearing. The little knob on the end of the axle there snapped off, and the wheel just fell off. Fortunately, I had a donor car, so I had to replace the axle. And I'll tell you, folks, sometimes just cutting off the tires is the way to go, especially on these really, really old red lines. If you feel you can get away with it, great. I thought I did. The bearing was on there. I put the new wheel on, and it just fell right off. And that little knob at the end of the axle fell right off onto the desk. And I was angry. But fortunately, like I said, I had a donor car, and I could replace the entire axle system. Now that we got the wheels on, let's do a little bit of detailing. Here I'm taking a fine Sharpie permanent marker in red, and I'm just going to rub it across the lights here in the back. Pretty easy to do. Just be careful. Now, if you happen to get some on the rest of the car, you can remove the Sharpie ink with alcohol. And I've had to do that before too. Just take your time, and it should turn out pretty cool. Here I'm leaning the pen up against the edge of the bumper. Gives me a nice straight edge, and then I can color in the top. I wear a headset that magnifies everything when I do stuff like this, because I'm getting old. So get one of those magnifying headsets also to wear when you do this stuff. It'll definitely help you out. Now back to the paint stripper. You can see that the paint has definitely moved off the car. Look how easy that comes off. Real easy. Now I'll tell you one thing here. Once I removed the paint off this car, the body was in super good shape. I was very pleased with the way it looked. You may have had a bunch of chips and stuff like that, but they didn't show. It was pretty interesting on this one. But I forgot to coat the inside, so I had to let it sit a little bit longer. So when you do this, make sure you coat the inside also. Then, again, you won't have to wait for it. When all the paint's being bubbled off there with the paint stripper, it'll be done. But I had to sit and wait. Here I've got a Scotch-Brite pad. I'm going to start with the Scotch-Brite pad to kind of buff it up a little bit. But later on I go back in with the steel wool and polish that up a little bit. Sometimes the sharp edges of the front and the back, the little lip in the front and the back will catch. That's why I picked it up and started doing it with my hands. Just check it out occasionally. Now you don't want to do it too much because you can scratch it up, and you're kind of defeating the purpose of what you want to do. Now if you're covering the car with an opaque enamel, like a white or a black or something like that, then you don't need to polish it up to a real high shine. All you have to do is smooth out the surface. Now if you're going to use the Spectraflame paint, or you're going to use the Nitroflame paint, then that's kind of like a candy color, so you want that underside to look really sharp and really shiny. Now you can polish it up to bring it to that shine, or you can use the silver base coat that's being sold at the Redline shop. And I've used it before on some cars, and it works fantastic. You go to redlineshop.com and check out their opaque paints, and it'll be in that section. Just try and hit every spot on the car here. Hit the trunk, hit the roof, hit the sides, hit the front fenders. That ought to look pretty good. You'll know when it's time to finish polishing up here, or buffing it up, smoothing it out. That looks good. Now it's time to buff it out with some metal polish. Alright, we got this metal polish cream from Blue Magic. I use several types of polish sometimes. I'll use flits, I'll use this. I'm always experimenting, trying to find what I think is going to be better or best. And I'll let you know what I'm using and how I feel about it. Now, I use this to polish up my rims on my truck, and it works pretty darn good on the aluminum rims. But, so I figured I'd try it on the car. And it works pretty darn good. It gives you a real nice, high, polished shine, and it works extremely well. Make sure that you're holding on to your Dremel, and you don't have to put it up to full speed to do your polishing, because all you're going to do is burn your polish, and you don't want to do that. So take your time, maybe less than halfway on your Dremel tool or your polisher, and just go back and forth. Now you may have to apply more than one polishing coat to this to get the desired finish that you want. Now, of course, the shinier your finish underneath, the nicer your paint's going to look when you're done painting your car. What I like about the polishing here is it's very gratifying when you're polishing it up and you see that nice, what looks like chrome finish underneath. That way there, you know that your paint job is going to look fantastic. Now the buffing wheel, I got the buffing wheels at Harbor Freight. Now you can get them at any hardware store like Lowe's or Home Depot or Ace Hardware or something like that. Anywhere where they sell Dremel tools. Now Harbor Freight, yeah, they're cheap, and the polishing wheels are cheap, but they work pretty good. Now I may use it for 1 or 2 cars, maybe 3, and then I'll go ahead and throw it out and then put a new one on there. But you get like 5 or 6 of them in a pack for like $3, and they definitely work well enough for what you're doing here. Like I said, just take your time, and if you have to put more polish on there and do it some more, then go ahead and do it. Now just don't over polish it, and what I mean by that is you polish it so much that you're going to take the zinc coating off. If you use too much of the polish, like in this metal polish here, it's got a slight abrasive in it. So you can burn your way through the zinc coating if you really try hard enough. But just try not to polish it up too much. That's starting to look really, really nice. I was really surprised how nice the body did look. Looking really cool. I think that looks good enough. Now, very important step here. When you're done polishing, get you some degreaser and wax remover and go through and scrub that thing down with a soft bristle toothbrush. You need to do that. It's a very, very important step. If not, it will repel the paint and you'll have to strip all that paint off and do it again. Now, this car here, we're going to use the original color and we're going to spray it with a nice coat of aqua. Make sure that you put just a couple of mist coats on there to begin with, and then you're going to want to let that sit for a few minutes to let that start to tack up, so the rest of the paint that you spray on gives it a nice tooth to bite on, and it will definitely make your paint job look really, really good here. Now it's a very important step. Just a few soft mist coats and then let it sit. I think that's about enough right there. Let's move on.
Waiting for the paint to dry.
Now that first tack coat has had time to dry a little bit, we're going to move on with the second coats. Now, when you're doing this, again, apply a few mist coats just to start building up layers. Don't be in a hurry here. The shiny will come. Just take your time and apply a few layers and apply it evenly. Notice here again, like I've said in some of my prior videos, you're constantly moving the car. You're moving it around. You're trying to get nice even coats here, but you're not trying to saturate it to the point where it's going to start to drip. Man, this color is really pretty. Looking good. We'll let that sit up for a few more minutes, and then we're going to hit it with a little bit more paint and take it home. Now we're on our third and final steps here. I've got a bunch of paint in my gun, and we're going to try and make this look really good. Now again, with the candy paints like this, the Spectre Flame paints, the Nitro Flame paints from Bright Vision, the more color you put down, the darker the color is going to be, if that makes sense. It's like taking a candy apple and you initially dip it into the candy mixture, and then you let that set up for a few minutes, and then you dip that candy again in there. And every time you do that, you're building another layer and another layer and another layer. Well, the more layers you build up, the darker that candy color is going to be. So you don't want to do that. Once you get to the desired color you want, you need to stop. Now it's really starting to look super shiny here, and I'm getting very pleased with where we're going with this. Now we're just about done painting here. We're going to need to stop, and we're going to let it sit and dry overnight.
The very next morning.
Okay, well, we're just going to go over a few things here. Got the car all painted up, all shined up and ready to go. Paint job turned out absolutely beautiful, so I'm very happy with that for sure. The base turned out good. We got the tires all cleaned up, brand new tires, excuse me. Did the detailing on the back and on the front, so that's good to go. We polished up the windshield using this Meguiar's plastic polish. Now, if you absolutely want to, you can use gauzy to dip your windshield in to give it that extra special high shine finish. And then I also polished up the engine really nice using this Blue Magic metal polish cream, which I use for the rims on my car. But good stuff here. So what we're going to do is we're going to assemble it all together and have our reveal. And this is what we started with. 1970 Nitty Gritty Kitty from the Spoiler series of Hot Wheels. Definitely well played with and enjoyed many years ago. The tires had a bunch of paint on them. The body was all scratched up and had a lot of flea bites to it. All the details were worn off. The tires were worn out, and they definitely needed replacing. But this is something that we definitely could save. So we took it apart, we polished it, we painted it, we sanded it down, we replaced the wheels, we buffed up the base, we buffed up the engine, we did the details, and this is what we got to here. A beautiful, restored Nitty Gritty Kitty. The details all done back up. We got the windshield and the back window all polished. The wheels look absolutely beautiful, and that paint job, man, that paint job is so beautiful. It's so shiny, you can see right through it. Literally reach through the paint and touch the metal on the car. This would be a proud member, proud addition to anybody's collection, and I really don't understand why people hesitate to restore old Hot Wheels that are all chipped up and messed up and everything. They just, well, you know, it's an original car in my collection and it's worth a lot of money. If it looks like crap, it isn't worth anything. So you need to get these things restored, and that's why I got into this hobby to begin with. Looks absolutely beautiful. Thank you folks so much for subscribing. I do appreciate it. If there's anything you want to see, please put it down in the comments. And I got a bunch more videos coming out in the very near future with a Christmas build-off coming, so be aware of that. I want to say happy Thanksgiving to you and your family, and bless you all and take care, and we'll talk to you soon.